everyone. So today I am here to share 3 projects that I made using Hero Art's new March 2019 aquarium themed card kit. So let's start off by just taking a quick look at some of the items that are in the kit. So first there's this 6x8 stamp set that has lots of great solid images of different fish and coral and different sea greens that you might find underwater. And then there's also 27 coordinating die cuts. So basically every one of the images has its own die, maybe with the exception of, I think, the bubbles and the little school of fish don't have a coordinating die, but all of the other images do. There are also several really great sentiments, like with waves of appreciation, you're a fantastic friend, I would swim the 7 seas for you, and of all the fish in the sea, I choose you. So I just love this stamp set. I think it's adorable. Let's take a look at some of the other items that come with the kit. So there are these 3 reactive ink cubes. So the first one we're looking at is the teal reactive ink, or I guess it's called sea glass. And then we'll take a look at the blue water reactive ink, and then finally this sea salt ink, which looks kind of white, so it's hard to see on that paper there. There are also these great little embellishments. They're called blue and green droplets. They're like little hard plastic or glass crystal drops that are green and teal, and I thought it warranted a close-up, so here they are. They're beautiful. It's great for making bubbles underwater. I think it'd also be nice to decorate a mermaid's tail maybe with these little droplets. Lots of fun things that you can do. So before we move on to, I just got a couple of add-ons this month and I'll show those to you, but let's take one last look at the kit. The kit also includes this large aquarium die, and we're going to use that several times this video, so I'll show it to you then. So this is one of the add-ons I got. This is the fishy Stampin' Cut. It's a little fish bowl with some little goldfish and some sayings like love ya, stay golden, and best fishes on your birthday. And then I also got this sparkling sea embossing powder that we're going to use later on in the video as well. So it has some glitter, some iridescent glitter, some white embossing powder, and then also some different little flecks of blue embossing powder as well. And it just looks really, really pretty when you use it. So we'll take a look at that in a little bit. But for now, let's move on to our first card. For the first card, we're going to make an aquarium card, and we're going to use, or I'm going to use, Copic markers to do the background for this, because I think there's a lot of videos out there that are demonstrating how to use the inks, but I thought I'll do something a little bit different, which is what I usually do, which is Copic markers. So I'm just going to color in the sand at the bottom of the aquarium with some warm brown. So I'm using E30, E34, E31, and then maybe a tad bit of E35 at some point. And I'm not trying to be neat here. I'm just trying to make it look like there might be little dents and crevices in the sand. I'm putting some texture on now, and we're going to blend all this out as we work through the page. So I'm just trying to get some work on the beginnings of the texture. This isn't where we're going to end up. Now, I also wanted it to appear that there's some depth to the tank, so that's why I also put a strip of lighter brown right above that darker brown, and that's just to make it look like the fish tank goes back a little bit. Then we're going to start blending our sand into the water with some BG10 and then BG11, and then moving into our watercolors, B00, B21, B45, and B37. And I'm just going to keep going back and forth across the page until I get a nice blend with those colors. And we're going to have this really nice effect of depth by the time we're done by blending the colors the way we are, and even blending some of the BG10 in over the sand. So we're almost done with the water, and then we will move on to stamping some other sea life, I guess, into the picture. So I'm using some of the stamps that come with the kit and the inks that come in the kit as well. I like the teal for the vines, but the white for the little seagrass didn't really do much for me. So I'm just gonna ignore them a little bit and maybe put of my own sea greenery in with my Copic markers. And again, we're gonna have an aquarium die that covers up a lot of the bottom, so a lot of this is gonna get washed out or just hidden and not noticed. So we just wanna give the hint that there's stuff going on at the bottom of the tank. For the goldfish, I'm trying to color them in traditional goldfish color, so I'm using some YRs and some Y markers, and I'm just making the tips of the tail a little bit darker, leaving the inside of the body a little bit lighter. And now we're gonna work on the fun part, and this is adding bubbles. And the whole reason that I made this card was just so that I could add these cute little fun bubbles to the scene, because whenever I can put bubbles into a scene, I try to do that because they're just so much fun to make. So to start with bubbles, we're just going to take our colorless blender and put a bunch of dots in varying sizes in the places where we want the bubbles to appear. The bubbles are going to look the best on the darker colored areas, and they're going to look kind of shadowy or off into the distance in the lighter areas. So just keep that in mind when you're deciding how many and where you want to put your bubbles. Now, to give the bubble some depth and character, we're going to add a little bit of color at the bottom of each of the bubbles with either a BG10 or a BG45 marker. And then we're going to go over the entire bubble again with a colorless blender to make those colors fade. Now what's going to happen is that the bubbles that have the darker blue, the B45, they're going to look closer to us and they're going to look like they have more detail. And then the bubbles that we don't want to add any color to, or that we just added the BG10, they're going to look like they are farther away from us because they have less color to them. So you want an assortment of bubbles. You want some that are right up at the front of the fish tank, and then some that are maybe back towards the back in the distance. And now I'm just going to blend everything together, and I'm going right over the fish even with my BG11, just because they are inside the water, they're not standing outside of it. So to the extent that I can make them blend into the scene, that will be better. And now we're going to add some details with a white gel pen. Here I'm just adding some little white dots to some of the bubbles and around the bubbles to make it look like either highlights on the bubble or like tiny little bubbles you can't even see, or little bubbles that may have just burst. So that's what the little white flecks are. And then to liven up our flat sea greenery, I put some little white highlights on them as well, just to make them come to life a little more. And now we're going to work on the front panel of the card. So off camera, I colored in a lot of the greenery and the coral kind of sticking up out of the aquarium. I use the aquarium die that's included with the kit, and then I am using the technique to make a pop-up aquarium that Jennifer McGuire teaches in her video. And to do that, you take 2 pieces of cardstock, one for the front, one for the back, each that are 7.5 by 4.25 inches, and then you score on both sides at the 1/2 inch mark and the 1 inch mark, and then you fold in those score lines like an accordion. And when we do the back, you'll get another chance to see. I added some acetate to the front panel just because it's an aquarium and I wanted it to look like it's glass. And then I did those same score lines on our back panel that includes our scene. And I folded it the exact same way at the 1 inch and the 1/2 inch marks, folding them in towards the front and then once to the back, accordion style. I'm adding the sentiment now. This is a sentiment from the main kit that says, "Of all the fish in the sea, I choose you." I think that's so adorable. And I'm using black VersaFine ink here, and then I am going to go over it with some clear embossing powder to make sure that it stands out against our background scene. I also thought that given the sentiment, it would be really cute to add some of the hearts that's included in the fishy stamp set. So I'm stamping those in, and then I'm going to color them with Copic markers. And I'm not sure if you can hear this, but I have a little cardinal outside my window, and he is just so happy that spring is here, and he has been singing all morning long. And let's see if you can hear him. Well, right as I said that, he stopped, but if he comes back again, I'll try to let you listen in. He's really, really happy. It's a gorgeous day in Illinois today. Spring is definitely on the way. All right, so to glue our front and back panel together, I decided to use some liquid adhesive because it would give me a chance to kind of fix things while I was lining it up in the event that I needed to, in a way that tape runner just doesn't give you that flexibility. And I'm just kind of holding onto the edges until I feel like they're dry. Here I'm just fixing up some of the coloring on the front of the card. And that's it. So that's it for card 1. Card 2 I made off screen using the fishy stamp set. That's this one on the right that I kind of flashed. And I used a blueprint die from MFT stamps for the banner and the little tag as well for the second card. All right, so now we're going to move on to card number 3, and we are going to do some ink smooshing for this card, and some splatter techniques and lots of things I don't usually do, but I thought it would be fun to try. So to start, I'm just taking a piece of acetate that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and we're going to stamp our sentiment directly onto the acetate. The acetate's going to be the front of our little aquarium fish tank, and I'm using some white embossing powder for that. And then I'm just trying to quickly heat it so that the acetate doesn't warp. And I didn't buy any of the add-on background stamps this month, but I have this really cool add-on from the Hero Arts June 2018 kit. I think it's just called Waves, and I thought that this would be a good one to use with the aquarium. So I took out that stamp and put some clear embossing powder on it, and now we're going to use the Sparkling Sea embossing powder that comes with the kit this month. And I'm just making sure that my whole panel is covered and that I haven't missed any of the little lines of the waves there. And it's just really pretty. The Sparkling Sea embossing powder is just gorgeous. It's white, there are flecks of blue, and then there's some iridescent glitter, and I think there's also some turquoise glitter in there as well. So I'm just going to heat set that, and it's not going to be as noticeable as it dries here or as it melts, because again, there is glitter in this embossing powder. So that's one thing just to kind of be on the lookout for when you're using an embossing powder that has glitter. You're not going to, it's not going to be so clear and melty when it's dry. And at the same time, you really do need to test and make sure that that it's dry, because if not, it'll rub off if you don't melt it all the way. So at this point, I'm realizing that my initial concept for the card isn't going to work. The white on white just doesn't pop at all. So now I've decided we need to liven up the background a little bit. So I got out the reactive inks that come in the kit. I'm going to spray some water on it and then do some smooshing. And the work surface that I have here is my usual work surface. It's one of the Tonic craft mats. I love it because I use a lot of tape adhesive, and tape doesn't stick to it the way that it does to other mats. So it's easier to keep clean and glue or tape residue free. But it's also great if you want to do any inking or smooshing like this. All right, so I've sped up the rest of the smooshing portion of this background just because I played around for a long time, and at the end of the day, if I had to do it all over again, I probably would have just smooshed once and then maybe put some splatter on after that instead of going through all the different steps I did here. But again, I was playing. And so while we're watching this background kind of come to life, I thought I would announce the winner of the Oh Gnome by Lawn Fawn stamp set that I raffled off 2 weeks ago, or announced in a video 2 weeks ago. And the winner for that is KCC Matt. So KCC Matt, just send me an email and I will get your stamp set out to you. So thanks so much for leaving a comment on the video that I posted for the Oh Gnome stamp set. So, all right, so let's get back to this background. So now I'm just kind of just making some ink splatters here using the reactive inks that come with the kit. And I think that this splatter was really what this background needed, just to kind of make it pop and come to life. So I'm going to make the splatters with both the teal and the blue inks that are in the kit, and then just going to heat set it, make sure it's all nice and dry, and then it's time to put our card together. So I'm taking the acetate that we stamped the sentiment on, and I'm just adhering it to the front of, or the back of the aquarium. And then I put my background onto an A2 size card base, and then I'm just attaching that acetate sheet right over the top. And then we're just gonna finish out the design with some of the little crystal drops that come in the kit, just to make it look like some cute little bubbles are kind of floating out from our aquarium. And so that's it, everyone. So those are, I guess, my first 3 cards that I made using the Hero Arts March 2019 kit. I'd love to hear what you're all working on for your kits. If there's a card in particular that you really liked, I'd love to hear from you. And that's all I have for you right now. Have a great weekend, everyone. And again, congratulations to KCC Matt for winning the Oh Gnome by Lawn Fawn stamp set. Just send me an email to tafflebera@gmail.com and I will get the stamp set out to you. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great weekend.